If someone was to walk up to you and slap you, spit on you, beat you, tear your clothes, and step on you, how would you feel? No doubt your first thought would be, what could I have possibly done to deserve this? Recall that Jesus experienced all of this on his last day of human life. Jehovah's enemies slapped him, they spat on him, they beat him, and they reviled him. But Jesus refused to shrink back from this treatment, and he actually despised the shame that was unjustly placed on him. Let's turn in our Bibles to Hebrews chapter 12, and let's consider verse 2. Keep in mind that despising, this word can also mean to regard as worthless. So we read here in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2, as we look intently at the chief agent and perfecter of our faith, Jesus, for the joy that was set before him, he endured a torture stake, despising shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. So the shame that was placed on him by his enemies, he despised it. He viewed it as worthless. He knew it had no value. It didn't affect him because he knew he lost no dignity in Jehovah's eyes, which are infinitely higher than any imperfect man could ever hope to be. So he had the right mindset, the same mindset that we need to have. Which leads us to our next point. How can we imitate Jesus by despising shame? When Matthew chapter 10, verse 22, Jesus says that his followers will be objects of hatred by all people. So he's given us forewarning 2,000 years in advance that we're going to experience hatred. We're going to experience difficulties by means of the people we come in contact with. And as Jehovah's Witnesses, we receive much ridicule because we follow God's commands to preach publicly from house to house and to abstain from blood. I think we're all familiar with that unique look of disdain in the eyes of some people when we tell them who we represent. But how do you view this treatment? Do you step back from it? Are you affected by it emotionally? Because really, the contempt that we receive tells us that we are true Christians. So it's really a sign that we should respect, because Jesus told us that we would get it, and we as true Christians truly receive it. And it is a huge honor that the true God allows us as sinful humans to bear his beautiful name. We don't deserve that privilege, but he's so lovingly given it to us. And it's something that we should cherish, because no other religion or group gets that privilege. Only us as true Christians. So like Jesus, never shrink back from representing Jehovah, because it's the greatest privilege that we can have. Now let's turn our Bibles to Luke chapter 9. We'll first consider verse 23. Here we read, "Then he went on to say to all, 'If anyone wants to come after me, let him disown himself and pick up his torture stake day after day and follow me continually.'" What do you think that means, to disown yourself, when Jesus said that? Well, really, in this context, it means that ungodly men should have no influence on us at all whatsoever. Because our image in the eyes of worldly people means nothing. Only Jehovah's eyes matter, and that's something that we need to keep in mind. We can't let the minds of people affect us. Now we read about the consequences in verse 26. We'll consider that now. "For whoever becomes ashamed of me and of my words, the Son of Man will be ashamed of this one when he arrives in his glory, and that of the Father and of the holy angels." But wouldn't that just be the worst possible outcome? If Jesus and Jehovah are ashamed of us as his followers, we wouldn't ever want that to happen. So let's make sure that we never allow it to happen by shrinking back from the treatment we receive. Now, in conclusion, let us regard all the indignity put on us as worthless and truly despise the shame that this world attempts to weigh us down with.